As I was putting together my thoughts for this video, I was just about ready to come in here and tell you great at 4 players, hard pass at 2 players because of some specific things that the AI did that just didn't sit well as we were playing through the game. It changed some things that I really didn't like in the 2-player version that I really enjoyed, and I think were kind of the core of the game in the 4-player game. But having had a chance to, one, play fully through the game at 2 players and to see those things play out, and now having had a chance to think about those, I actually really like the decisions that those forced. I think I can see better what they were trying to do with those changes. But regardless, Fractured Sky is a beautiful game. It's highly produced. This is the super deluxe version. It has the painted minis, the lenticular cards. It is an incredibly well-produced game, as you expect from anything coming from Ivy Studios. But what is the experience of the game? And does the experience of the game live up to the production? Because if it doesn't, then you just have a really pretty shelf warmer. So that's a lot of what I'm going to focus on is the experience that you get playing this game, and in my opinion, whether or not the experience and the game that is here lives up to the production and the price tag. So let's talk about Fractured Sky. This is Fractured Sky. It is from Ivy Studios. It is coming back to Kickstarter for a reprint with a mini expansion, and this is the super deluxe version. It is also a review copy that they sent to us for this review. It is a beautifully produced game, and it is the second game from Ivy Studios that our kids have absolutely demolished us at, which I think is a really, and that's a win. As a parent, it's fun to get just terribly demolished at a game by your kids. And I think that speaks to the simplicity of the rules, but the depth of the game. It's a really easy game to pick up. The rules aren't complicated, but there is a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of strategizing. It is a mixture of blind bidding, resource management, and more bluffing than you would think, just kind of reading through the rules. But bluffing is a big part of it. Not straight up just what do I have there bluffing, but also there's a lot of information in the game that is available, but that you're not always going to be able to access. Some players are going to access it, other players aren't, and trying to read what players are doing with the information that they've gathered is a real key and really fun part of the game. So let's give a little bit of an overview of what the game is and how it plays, and then we'll talk about that experience part of it and whether or not the experience lives up to the production. So the game is played over 5 rounds, and the core of the game is we're trying to capture star fragments. We're trying to collect star fragments, and that's going to be done through area control, bidding on different areas on the map and beating other players when you resolve those areas. Whoever has the highest value between the tokens on their main ships, small ships, and fortresses is going to win that area, and they're going to get either resources or star fragments if the star fragments are there. The game is played again over 5 rounds. The first round, you are going to have 1 secret space, working your way up to 5 secret spaces on the 5th round, adding 1 each round. And in between rounds, those cards, those secret spaces are shuffled and redealt. So it's going to be a different set of spaces every round. Each round does have 1 public space. So we have the Woeful Wetlands. That's what this star fragment is for. But every round, you're going to put out cards, again, starting with 1, working your way up to 5. And these are secret, but you can explore those on your turn. It costs 2 gold to explore. I believe that scouting is the term of the game. When you scout, you're going to pay your 2 gold. You are going to secretly look at the card, not revealing it to any other players because this is very important, very secret information. This is the Frosty Fjord. That is right up here. So I know, because I've looked at this card, that at the end of the round, the Frosty Fjord is going to have a star fragment available. Now, when I scout, I have the option to, and I put that in the wrong place, I have the option to take one of the resources on that location. In this case, it's 2 stone. Now, over here in this 4 section, this has been scouted by yellow, red, and by purple, and it has wood and gold available. Now, what's important in this is you have the option to take that, and having the option to take those resources plays into the what you do with that secret information and also the deduction part of the game, because yellow and red both took those resources. So now all of the other players, whether they've scouted or not, know that this location has wood and gold. They also know that this location has wood and gold. This is the Sinister Spires. And if I'm not mistaken, the Sinister Spires and the Frosty Fjord are the only two places that have only wood and gold available. Oh no, the Peaceful Plains do also. That may be something that you want to scout as many as you can, or you may want to sit back and just watch what other players do. That is the secret information, the deduction part of the game. Now, on your turn, you are going to choose to either scout. That's limited because of resources. You're not going to be able to do that every time. The main part is putting stuff out on the board. You can build markets that are going to give you more resources at the end of the rounds. You can build fortresses that are going to bolster your manpower at the different locations. In all of these locations, you're building those on these little floating platforms that are connected to different locations by these lines. And the little stars under each one tell you how many different locations it's connected to. So there's a lot of strategy in getting those early. Again, there's a lot of strategy in this game in choosing where you spend your resources, whether you spend it on information or on locations. So you can place those buildings. You can also send out your small ships, which give you 1 additional manpower when it comes time to resolve a location. And you can send out your large ships, which is where the bidding comes in. Now, everyone is going to have this player shield or this player board, the organizer, and this shield on here. This is hiding the bidding tokens. I'm going to take this off for the video so that you can see probably one of the coolest production elements of this game. So when you get ready to bid, again, you're going to have your little shield over here. You're going to take your large ship. You're going to decide how much you want to bid on a location. You have 2 zeros and then 1 through 10. The zeros won't do anything on their own, but if you go to a space that you have a fortress connected to, that fortress is going to give you 1 manpower, and then the small ships are also going to give you 1 manpower. So bidding 0 isn't useless, but you want to make sure you at least do it strategically with a fortress out there. Otherwise, it's a waste of a ship. Really critical element to the bidding is you cannot have more than 10 total chip value on your ships at the end of the round. So when you get ready to bid, you are going to, and this is awesome, they're magnets. So when you get ready to bid, you're going to take your ship, you're going to put it on your little player screen and say, I want to bid 4 for this one. I now have my 4, it's secret, that's not coming off, it's not going to slip off, it's never going to be revealed until I am ready to reveal it. And I can say, I want to go to the Peaceful Plains. Now, when I go to the Peaceful Plains, because I am the first person to go to that location, I get to take one of the unused location cards. This is another piece of process of elimination information that you get, because this is now mine. I take this, I keep it, and because this is an unused card, this tells me that there is not going to be a star fragment at the Careening Cliffs. Now, again, on the first round, you're only going to have 1 location out there, so it's 1 location out, 1 location has 1 and 9 don't. It's not going to be very valuable with those 9. But as you get farther along in the game, working up to half and half, that can be really valuable information, especially when combined with the information that other people have given you through where they scouted and where they if they took resources in scouting. So you're going to send all of your ships. You're going to build your buildings. Once you send your 3rd large ship out, the round is over for you. You can't take any more actions in the round after that. Once everyone is done, you're going to reveal the chips on everyone's ships. The chips are worth their face value. The small ships are worth 1, and any connected fortress is worth 1. Whoever gets the most at each location is going to win that location. You will have revealed all of the hidden locations and put star fragments there. And if there is a star fragment available, whoever wins that gets the star fragment. Whoever comes in second gets both of the resources there, and whoever comes in after that gets 1 resource, and whoever comes in after that gets nothing. If there's not a star fragment available, then all of that slides up. First place gets 2 resources, second place gets 1 resource, and then everyone below that gets nothing. And you are going to get additional resources based on where you have markets. So there's a lot of resource management, there's a lot of competition for the star fragments, and also managing not only where you put your ships to win the star fragments, but also where you put your ships to get those resources, because you can only gain resources where you have a large ship. Even if you have a marketplace, if you don't have a large ship at that location, you don't get the resource. So that is the basics. Oh, one more thing. You have these hidden objectives each round. There are things like have the most markets built, have the fewest airships in a contested region, and these are all face down, and each round you're going to reveal one. And that's just whoever wins that objective is going to get a star fragment also. So in round 1, there's 3 star fragments available, working up to round 5 when there's 7 available. Whoever has the most at the end of the game wins. There's a lot of mind games that go on in the game. There's a lot of bluffing. There's a lot of decision making around what you do with the information you have. The gut reaction would be, okay, I checked this card. I know that there's something at the torrential tropics. Let me go up here to the torrential tropics and secure that so that I can make sure that I get at least in contention for a star fragment. The first time I did that, I had this thought process of, do I want to go there or do I want to go somewhere else and bluff? And as I went somewhere else, the conversation around the table was that same conversation of, is he going there because that's what he just figured out? Or is he trying to bluff and draw us away? Does he want us to go send our ships to this worthless location so that we don't have one to go there? Again, you only have 3 large ships. You can't go to all the locations. So where you send your ships is very, very important. Once it got to the table, once we started playing, it was a really, really fun experience trying to figure out what the other players were doing with the information they had. It was a really satisfying kind of deduction game, not just blind bidding, not just the bluffing, but really trying to figure out, again, looking at these and trying to work out what you can, solve the puzzle of the resources that are taken. And okay, well, red went here. This only has 2 wood available, but all I know, or all the other players know, is that green went there and took a wood. Red went here, and if I took a wood, I would still put my marker up there. So did red not take a resource, or did red take a wood also? And this is one of the places that only has 2 wood available. The experience of this game, I do think, lives up to the production of it. I don't think the production is the core of the game. It does definitely improve it. It does make it, the production creates a really fun experience. Those magnets, I'm not going to let, the magnets are like, it's just fun. It's a fantastic little element of the game. Functional though, like when you're playing and you're trying to hide what you're doing, to not have to fiddle with this and try and put this out and hold it just right so that you can put that on top of that and not let anyone see it. It's really, it's a functional, awesome little element of the game. Now, part of the reason I'm focusing in my mind on the experience of the game is because there's a retail version of this available also. Again, this is the super deluxe, but the retail version, I haven't played it, but as best as I can tell from the previous Kickstarter, the retail version is all cardboard chips and cards. So there's no ships. It's very much like the AI, where you have cardboard tokens for the fortresses and the marketplaces, and then you have just a set of ships. So instead of bidding for with the ship, I would take a token and I would put it there, and that's my bid for that. That's not as cool, but this board is, and one thing I really like about this game is that they didn't make the board bigger than it needs to be. The board is streamlined, it's small, it takes up so much less space than a lot of highly produced games take up, and that's awesome. But it does get pretty cluttered. I've only played it at 4 players. I could imagine it being really cluttered at 5 when you add in a whole other set of 3 ships, because this is the largest side of the board. This is the full map. This is the 4 and 5 player side. The 3 player side has, I think, 3 fewer locations, but it does get kind of messy. So from an experience standpoint, it could be a less messy game if everyone is just putting out tokens instead of putting out these big bulky ships. So it's hard to take out the production of it, to take out the cool ships, the painted ships, all of the 3D elements, and say, like, do I like this game because it looks cool, or do I like it because it's actually a good game? And no amount of cool can create the conversation that we were having, the table talk that was happening between the non-active player of, why did they do that? they playing us, or are they trying to actually, are they actually going where they just found out a star fragment was? And then also just the decision making is so fun in this game. Trying to manage, especially once you get up past round 2 and there are more than 3 star fragments available for your 3 ships to potentially contend for, the decision making gets really important and really strategic. Also, not being able to go above 10, you have to decide where you're going to bluff. You have to decide if other people are bluffing. One really key part of the bluffing in this game is the 1 and the 10 have white borders. All of the other colors have dark borders. So if you see my ship like this with a white border around it, you know that that's a 1 or a 10, but you don't know which it is. And if you think it's a 10, then that means all my others are zeros, or I'm going over and I'm risking sacrificing points, which would be very unwise. So there's just so many little things that just layer on top of layer on top of layer that take, like the deduction of the resources, the different colored chips. They just add these layers of decision and of strategy that take it deeper and deeper and deeper into a game with a really straightforward set of rules. But the table experience is fantastic. It's so fun. If you don't like bidding, you're probably not going to like this game. If you don't like deduction, you're probably not going to like this game. If you want straight strategy where you can fully just outplay your players with strategic decisions, this may not be a game for you. But if you like that deduction, if you like trying to figure out what the other players are doing at the table, not just their long-term strategy, but actually figure out what they're doing in the moment, what their hidden information is, and what they're doing with this information. It does that so well and so smoothly. So from that standpoint, I do think the experience outweighs the production or lives up to the production of the game. Now let's talk about the AI and why I was so against it when we first played the 2-player game. When you play with the AI, and it's some people that's going to be an instant turnoff. It kind of is for me, but I get it. Like, I don't like games that force you to play with an AI to play at 2 players, but I understand it because even on the other side of this board, like even with the smaller board, you have 6 locations that at the last round of the game, there's 6 locations that are going to have a star fragment available. If you don't have an AI, you can just split your 3 ships each, and there's no competition for those. Like, it just, without a third player, there's no competition, or potentially no competition for the star fragments on the board the later you get in the game. So I understand why they you have to have an AI. You just do. For this kind of game, you have to have more competition. What I didn't like about the 2-player with the AI is, like I said, a huge part of this game is figuring out what the other players are doing, and the AI isn't making decisions. They're just following a pattern and following instructions on a card. So there's no deduction in, like, did they go there because of this information, or did they go there because they're trying to throw me off? You lose that at 2 players, just fully. There's no replacing that human element of that 3rd and 4th player. You fully lose that in the 2-player game. And I think that is a mark off if you're looking for this as a 2-player game. Now, the other thing that the AI did that I really didn't like at first is, now let's just take this one for example, because ignore all the other colors on those. The AI will sometimes scout locations. When the AI scouts, their token goes there, and they are always considered to have taken a resource. At this point, if this were the setup, and again, ignore all the other players, this is a 2-player game with an AI, red has taken a resource, and the AI is considered to have taken a resource also, even though the AI doesn't collect resources. As soon as 2 resources are taken from a location, that location is revealed and a star fragment is put there. So now, even though Allison, who I was playing this with 2 players, never scouted that, didn't spend the resources on that, didn't do anything to get that information, Allison now knows 100% there's a star fragment at the Frosty Fjord. Didn't do anything to get that information, just waited until the AI came and scouted the location that I have. I didn't like that. It didn't sit well. It took away the mystery. It took away a lot of the just hidden information. So we were at the point where we were like, it would be better. Like, why didn't they just have you? Because you have to have that information revealed. Like, the AI has to know where the star fragments are, because the AI can't actually scout, and I can't look at this card for the AI. Otherwise, I have that information. So, like, I get it. I get why it's there. I get why they did it that way. But we're like, why not just have the AI go there and then that token goes on that card later? We were ready to house rule that. We were ready to say, like, we've had that conversation. Like, that seems like a lot better. Why didn't they just do it that way? Well, they didn't do it that way because they spent more than 2 minutes designing the game. What they did was force a really strategic decision when you scout. Typically when you scout, unless you're in a really contentious game and you don't want to give the other players any information, it's a given that you're going to take that resource because resources are scarce. But with that element of it, I really have to decide how valuable that resource is going to be to me. Because I could go up here and not take a resource when I scout that location. And as long as it's not when 2 people scout, it's when 2 resources have been collected. So by not taking that resource, this stays hidden. That created a really interesting decision space of, because resources are hard to come by, because managing resources is a really key part of the game, being able to gather those resources by scouting was critical to early success in the game and having the resources you need to build those early buildings. So giving that up in order to not give away information, it became more critical when giving away information wasn't, I'm going to give you a 30% chance at guessing the right place. It was, here you go. That's the exact place that a star fragment is. So having kind of marinated on that, I actually really liked the decision-making that creates. It made me think more about the actions that I was doing, and it made me weigh the actions against the consequences, not just take the action as a given. So I think that actually, again, that my house rule seemed awesome in the moment. It seemed like a great decision, a great way to go. And it wasn't. It was, this is better. This creates better decision-making. It creates a little twist with the AI. And as far as, again, experience with the retail version, I think this would be just as fun of a game. Again, not as cool, but I think just as fun of an experience with the retail version, with the cardboard tokens. Again, maybe even a little less messy, but you're still playing the same mind game with players. You are still playing the same deduction game. It's just flat and not as flashy. I do think they did a great job with the high production of not just making it minis versus standees. The magnets are awesome. So that was a really great element that does actually increase the satisfaction of the gameplay, and it does streamline the gameplay a little bit. And it's a really cool element. But you can play the same game flipping cardboard tokens, and they make that available to you if you want it at a lower price point and you still want the game experience. So this is Fractured Sky. It is on Kickstarter now, or coming to Kickstarter very soon. Again, that's for a reprint of the Super Deluxe Edition. I'm not sure. They didn't give us the details, so I don't know if that's going to include a reprint of the retail version or if it's just the Deluxe and Super Deluxe, but there is also a mini expansion there too. Not going into pricing because I know what the pricing was of the previous Kickstarter. I don't know if that's staying the same for this Kickstarter. So if this interests you, go to the Kickstarter and see how much it costs. See if that's what you want to spend for what you see on the table here. And if it sounds like an interesting game, one that's going to be a good fit. Because ultimately that is what I want to do. I want to give you information that you can use to buy games that are going to be a great fit for your collection and pass on ones that aren't going to be a good fit. So if you have any questions at all about this game, let me know. I'm happy to answer those. Again, we'll leave links to the Kickstarter, and Ivy Studios has a fantastic tutorial on their YouTube channel. We'll leave a link to that as well. Again, if you have any questions, leave a comment, and until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.